Welcome to HRP Clarity. Subscribe now and stay updated. Let's watch the video.
Look, I can't help that you don't want to reach young people. I think young people are the future, damn it, and I'll do whatever steps are needed.
Backstreet Boys?
That would be on Vice President Vance's playlist, I heard, that got hacked.
General Bondi, welcome. I apologize for injecting you in the middle of Senator Kennedy's antics. We can't help him. Thank you for the job you're doing. You are doing a tremendous job keeping this country safe. And our families are safer because you are on that wall. Our families are safer because you are returning the Department of Justice to its core function, which is enforcing the law and locking up bad guys. We saw for 4 years, under the Biden administration, we saw the Department of Justice politicized and weaponized, and we saw them refuse to do their core function. More than 12 million illegal aliens flooded into this country, and the Biden Justice Department seemed to think its job was letting murderers and gangbangers and rapists go. And the results in just a few months that you've been able to produce are tremendous. Arrests of violent criminals are up 125% since the Biden administration. Fentanyl trafficking prosecutions have risen 42% since fiscal year 2023. DOJ has coordinated with DHS to remove over 220,000 criminal illegal aliens this year alone. Under your leadership as Attorney General, you have helped rescue 4,000 children from predators and helped arrest 1,300 child predators and 285 human traffickers. In my home state of Texas, Operation Soteria Shield resulted in the rescue of 109 children. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi. Texans are safer because you are serving. Americans are safer because you are serving. You have a big task, cleaning up the messes of the Biden DOJ. One of the most egregious failures of the Biden Justice Department was its refusal to protect judges and Supreme Court justices. As you know, in May of 2022, an unknown individual leaked to Politico the draft of the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, the opinion that finally overturned Roe versus Wade. That leak was a crime. It was a theft of government property under 18 U.S.C. Section 641, and it was an unauthorized disclosure of confidential information under 18 U.S.C. Section 1905. General Bondi, do you agree that leaking that opinion was a criminal act?
Senator, I can't discuss anything regarding that matter. That should answer your question.
Well, I will say this. The leak occurred in 2022. So the 5-year statute of limitations has not expired. And I'm going to ask you, if it is not happening already, to direct the FBI to investigate and find the leaker. The leaker has not been exposed. The leaker has not been identified. And the FBI has far greater investigatory tools at its disposal than does the Marshals Service. And when it comes to defending the rule of law, when it comes to the integrity of our court system, having partisan law clerks, and I believe in all likelihood it is a law clerk who leaked it, leaking opinions designed to try to pressure the court politically is a gross subversion of the integrity of the court. And so I would ask you as Attorney General to direct the FBI to use every resource possible to investigate, to find the leaker, and when you identify the leaker, to prosecute the leaker for that criminal conduct.
Thank you, Senator Cruz.
All right, I want to turn, secondly, after that decision was leaked. I believe the leak was part of a broader effort to intimidate and to threaten and harass justices into trying to get them to change their decision. And we saw mobs assemble outside the homes of multiple justices. Do you agree, General, that the mobs that came outside the homes of justices were there to intimidate the court and to try to influence the justice's decision?
100%.
Well, as you know, federal law, in particular 18 U.S.C. Section 1507, makes it a crime to picket or parade outside a judge's home, quote, with the intent of influencing that judge's decision. That statute is crystal clear. And I will point out, these protests happened in 2022. So just like the leak, the 5-year statute of limitations has not expired on these protests. But unfortunately, the Biden Department of Justice didn't give a damn about prosecuting this statute because President Biden and Merrick Garland and the political hacks at DOJ disagreed with the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs and were perfectly fine turning a blind eye to violent protesters threatening the justices and their children. You may recall I questioned Attorney General Garland about this statute, and he admitted under oath that not a single protester had been prosecuted. And he blamed the Marshals Service. He said the problem was the Marshals, quote, didn't make arrests. Well, subsequent documents told a different story. Internal training materials obtained reveals that the Marshals were explicitly instructed not to arrest protesters under Section 1507. So the reason there was no arrest is because a political decision was made that we like what the protesters are protesting for, and we, the Department of Justice, are not going to protect the safety of justices. We're going to allow them to be victims of an intimidation and threatening campaign. Just as I asked you with regard to the Dobbs opinion, I would ask you to direct the FBI to review the footage of these protests, to review the evidence that exists in terms of who engaged in it, and will you commit that anyone who you can prove violated 18 U.S.C. Section 1507 will face consequences and face prosecution?
Senator, we currently have 63 ongoing investigations involving judges and officials throughout this country. That scene that you're showing will not happen under my watch. It will not happen under Donald Trump's presidency. It doesn't matter if you're a liberal judge or a conservative judge or justice. That will not happen.
The hearing between Senator Ted Cruz and Attorney General Pam Bondi wasn't just another Senate exchange. It was a political showdown layered with humor, tension, and hard-hitting accusations. It started lightheartedly with Senator Kennedy joking about Cruz's Backstreet Boys tattoo, drawing laughter from the room. But beneath the jokes, Cruz quickly shifted the tone to something far more serious: America's safety, the role of the Justice Department, and what he called cleaning up the mess left behind by the Biden administration. From the very first minute, the contrast between humor and heavy issues made it clear this was going to be a heated conversation about justice, politics, and accountability. Senator Cruz began by praising Attorney General Pam Bondi for what he described as returning the Department of Justice to its core function, enforcing the law and locking up bad guys. He cited specific numbers: arrests of violent criminals up by 125%, fentanyl prosecutions up by 42%, and thousands of children rescued from predators. Cruz used these statistics to draw a sharp contrast with what he claimed was the inaction of the previous DOJ under President Biden. His tone was assertive but respectful, the kind that signals support before pivoting to tough questions. Do you think those numbers tell the whole story, or was there more behind the political framing? After establishing that foundation, Cruz went directly into one of the most controversial issues, the 2022 leak of the Supreme Court's draft opinion in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, the decision that overturned Roe versus Wade. Cruz called the leak a theft of government property and a criminal act. His goal was clear: to push Bondi into committing to a federal investigation. When he asked if she agreed it was a crime, Bondi remained cautious, saying she couldn't discuss anything regarding that matter. Her brief answer spoke volumes. Was it caution or political strategy? That silence became one of the most telling moments in the hearing. Cruz pressed further, demanding the FBI use every resource possible to find the leaker. He emphasized that the statute of limitations hadn't expired and that identifying the leaker was critical to restoring trust in the court. His statement resonated with his core audience, those who view the Supreme Court as under siege from political forces. Partisan law clerks, Cruz argued, should never be allowed to manipulate the judiciary. This moment felt less like a Senate question and more like a rallying cry. Do you think his demand was justified, or was it an attempt to reignite political outrage over an old controversy? The conversation escalated when Cruz turned to another related issue, the protests outside the homes of Supreme Court justices. He called the demonstrations mobs assembled to intimidate and threaten the court. Citing 18 U.S.C. Section 1507, Cruz reminded the room that such protests were, by law, a federal crime. Bondi immediately agreed, 100%, she said firmly. Her directness contrasted sharply with her earlier hesitation. That simple response drew nods across the room, and Cruz seized the moment, arguing that the previous DOJ didn't give a damn about prosecuting this statute. It was one of the strongest moments of alignment between the senator and the Attorney General. Then, Cruz recounted how, under Attorney General Merrick Garland, no protesters had been arrested. Instead, from there, Cruz shifted to a darker turn, the attempted assassination of Justice Brett Kavanaugh. He described in chilling detail how a deranged individual traveled with a gun, duct tape, and zip ties, intending to murder the justice and possibly his family. The Senate room fell quiet as Cruz recounted how that man was arrested just outside Kavanaugh's home. The story served as a warning about how political rhetoric can spiral into real-world violence. Violence is unacceptable, Cruz said, regardless of politics. It was one of the few statements that drew universal agreement from both sides. The tension reignited when Cruz revealed that the judge who sentenced the attempted assassin gave him only 8 years, despite the Department of Justice asking for 30. Bondi detailed her frustration. The judge, she said, refused to use the defendant's biological name and was concerned about his treatment in prison. Her tone carried disbelief, as if the court's focus had shifted from justice to ideology. She confirmed her team immediately filed an appeal, reinforcing her commitment to ensure accountability, regardless of identity. The audience could sense her determination, and Cruz commended her prosecutors for their work. At this point, both seemed united in outrage over what they viewed as misplaced leniency. Moments like these remind us why Senate hearings matter, not just for the sound bites, but for the insight they provide into how power and principle collide in real time. Behind every question and every pause, there's a larger struggle over what justice means in modern America. Whether you agree with Cruz or Bondi, one thing is certain: their words left a lasting impact on how Americans view the Department of Justice today.